Hello and welcome to Monday's programme.
Your headlines tonight. 3 mothers united through grief as they campaign for child killers to be named by the courts.
I've got another 2 years for one of them to be named, and that's going to bring that all back to me again.
You've killed someone, so why shouldn't you be named? If you're big enough to carry a weapon, then you're big enough to be named.
And like you say, our children are the ones that were murdered. Where's their protection?
We'll also hear from a lawyer who says as young people they should be protected. Also tonight,
we're in Wiltshire, where the thoughtlessness of one person in not closing a gate in a field has led to the death of a horse.
Here to stay, Steve Evans commits his future to Bristol Rovers as the Gas register their 6th straight win.
And with the blossom in full swing and our pollinators just gearing up for overdrive, it turns out that our pollen season is now longer than ever.
Good evening. First tonight, 3 mothers from the West Country who all lost their teenage sons to knife crime say the law must change to allow young people convicted of murder to be named. Currently, under 18s are granted anonymity unless a judge decides otherwise.
18-year-old Owen Dunn was murdered with a machete in Swindon in December 2022 while cycling to his girlfriend's house.
Meanwhile, Mikey Roynan, who was 16, was stabbed in the neck during a row at a house party in Bath in June 2023.
And best friends Mason Rist and Max Dixon were murdered in Knoll West in Bristol in January 2024 in a case of mistaken identity. Well, their mothers say not automatically naming their killers causes more pain and suffering for the families left behind. Victoria Davis reports.
For this mother, every day is a nightmare, where she relives the moment her son Max was stabbed to death alongside his best friend near their home in Bristol.
Yeah, I relive it every day. You know, I try not to, but I do. There was no reason for him to be taken like he was. He was an innocent child.
5 people are currently serving life sentences for the murder of 16-year-old Max Dixon and his 15-year-old friend Mason Rist in what was a case of mistaken identity. But 2 of the killers have never been named as they're under 18. And for this mother, that means her grief continues.
Well, I'm still waiting for my justice to finish. Well, I know eventually when they reach 18, they're going to be named anyway. So I'm waiting for that to happen. And for me, I've got another 2 years for one of them to be named. And that's going to bring that all back to me again 2 years down the line. You know, it's going to come flooding back to me again, everything that happened that night. If they were named in the beginning, I think I could process things more and I could hopefully try and move past that.
These 2 mothers also feel the pain of losing a son to a blade.
I don't think unless you've been through it, you can understand.
Yeah. It's just constant ache in your heart, isn't it?
Yeah, every hour of every day, you think of them.
Yeah.
All the time.
Mikey Roynan died after being stabbed with a zombie knife at a house party in Bath in 2023. He was 16. While Owen Dunn was stabbed through the heart after being attacked with machetes while cycling through a park in Swindon in 2022. Mikey's killer and one of Owen's killers weren't initially identified because they were teenagers. And as a result, they were subject to a court order designed to protect children. But for these mothers, that anonymity caused more suffering.
The stories keep coming out about your son, about Mikey, about Owen, I would have thought.
Yeah.
And they're protected. Mikey wasn't protected. Like, where's the protection for Mikey? Where's the protection for us? We're even in the media everywhere. It's really hard to deal with because they're treated as children. And you've killed someone, so why shouldn't you be named? If you're big enough to carry a weapon, then you're big enough to be named.
And like you say, our children are the ones that were murdered. Where's their protection? It's just, I don't know, it's just wrong.
Mikey's killer, Shane Cunningham, was eventually named at sentencing after journalists appealed to the judge. But one of Owen's killers, 14-year-old Kieran Newman, wasn't named until February this year when he became an adult. But these mothers say the law should change, so a murderer, no matter how young, is identified.
If you're found guilty, 100% you should be named. And I know that's a lot of people don't agree with that, but I'd like them to be in our shoes and see what it feels like. These kids that have done the murders, they're going to come out, they're going to live their lives, they're going to be able to have families, they're going to have children. Our sons, what have they got? Nothing.
I don't think we should be fighting for it. I think it should be done anyway. If they were capable of carrying these weapons, because I don't say knives because they weren't knives, they used machetes and a sword. You know, if they're big enough to carry these weapons around and actually use them, why are we protecting them? It doesn't matter if they were 10 years old, they should have been named. None of those boys gave Max and Mason a chance to fight back. I can never ever get my head around that, why they did that, and think it was okay to do that, and then to basically walk away and not get named.
3 mothers united by grief. 3 mothers left fighting in the wake of their sons' deaths. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
Truly powerful words there from the mothers. Well, we spoke to Ian Kelsey, who's a solicitor and a member of the Law Society, to get his view on a potential change to the law.
Well, there's always been a right to anonymity for young people. I think the chance of that changing as a whole is very, very unlikely. I understand that in the more serious cases, relatives are very keen that young people who are involved in murders, knife stabbings, that sort of thing, should be identified, but that is left in the discretion of the judge. And I think if you had a blanket removal, it could lead to an injustice in another direction for a 12 or 13-year-old who may have neurodiversity problems, mental health difficulties. I don't think it would be appropriate in those instances for that child to be named. And the tension is always through the rehabilitation of the child and the need for open justice.
It's interesting, isn't it? And very nuanced as well, kind of different sides on the same argument. But what is actually likely to happen?
Well, let's talk to our political correspondent, Alicia Fitzgerald, who's in Westminster for us tonight. So, Alicia, what are the government saying about this? And I guess more importantly, is this even on their radar?
Well, so far it definitely isn't something that the government think should be changed. They think that this should be done on a case-by-case basis and remain at the discretion of the judge. But what they have done recently is launch their national knife crime strategy with a big focus on tackling youth knife crime in particular. A couple of the key changes in there means that any child caught with a knife will face some kind of intervention. This will be mandatory, whether through youth training schemes, education or other means. And the other key thing is that education will be seen as something that's more elevated in curriculums. More funding will go to schools in high-risk areas. Now, critics of this policy and of the strategy say that this just isn't enough, and actually the key is really just having more police and more of a threat to those who do break the law.
Strategies are all well and good, but what we want to know is what the government's going to be doing on the ground to make sure that youth services are reinstated so that there are proper support mechanisms in place for young people who might be at risk of slipping into knife crime. And we also need to know how they're going to restore community police teams.
Now the government say that this issue is more than just about policing. It is all about prevention first, rather than tackling the issue after it's happened. But lots of voices who are worried about this say that prevention is something that's a long-term measure, and parents like those that we just heard from want answers now. They want them quickly, and there is definitely growing concern that this kind of strategic prevention approach maybe isn't going to be fast enough.
OK, Alicia in Westminster for now. Thank you.
Bring you other news now, and murder charges have been dropped against 4 men who were accused of killing a 47-year-old in Bristol. Leon Phillips died on the 3rd of February after being found critically injured in Stapleton Road the night before. Yahe Ali, Fallo Diop, Ayob Mohammed and Muna Teklu have had their charges discontinued due to insufficient evidence. 18-year-old Mustafa Ali from Fishponds remains charged with murder.
An investigation is taking place into a large fire on an industrial land in Bristol overnight. 8 fire engines were sent to Deep Pit Road in Speedwell at around 11 o'clock to reports of loud bangs and flames. Firefighters were still checking the scene this morning and have reported no casualties. Well, you're watching a new look ITV News West Country, and you may have noticed, well, at least we hope you did, that we've had a bit of a makeover.
A bit of a makeover. Some things, though, remain wonderfully familiar. Ross and Charlie have both joined us here in the studio. Let's start with you, Ross. What have you got coming up?
A lot's coming up, yeah. Same but different. And that's a topic in the sport as well. Steve Evans signing a contract with Bristol Rovers, and the other football results, and an amazing result for Bath. Join me later on.
And Charlie's going to be talking about same but early pollen.
Pollen. Now, a lot of us have already been sneezing for ages thanks to tree pollen, but you're right, it started earlier and it's finishing earlier as well. Despite this week's weather being a little bit up and down, all that coming up real soon.
Oh, finishing earlier definitely works for me. We'll find out about that shortly. First, though, a woman from Wiltshire has had to put her horse down after 3 gates were left open, allowing the animal to escape from a field and suffer serious injuries.
It's rather distressing, isn't it? Well, Beanie Sturgis from Great Somerford says her family have been left heartbroken by the loss of the horse, who was called Jack. Richard Payne sent this report.
Yes, it is a sobering lesson on how we should all behave when we come into the countryside, but someone or some people left this gate wide open, one of 3, which the horses made their way through. Of course, people should have used this gate and come in from the side. Well, Beanie Sturgis is the owner of Jack and the rest of the horses. These are the other 4 horses that were also released at the time. Beanie, terrifying episode for you. What do you know about what happened?
Oh, well, yes, a hideous end to the bank holiday weekend. We got a phone call in the morning, early on the Monday morning, to say that the horses were out. And we went up, actually the children went up to the far end of the farm here, and they found 3 horses trapped on a footbridge. And tragically, one of them had obviously fallen off the edge of the footbridge and had injured himself so badly it was non-recoverable. There was, you could see, bone and tendons and on 3 legs, and luckily we called our local hunt, who came in and put him down as quickly as they could to get him out of his suffering. It's awful.
Jack had been in the family a long time, obviously a very upsetting experience.
Yeah, I mean, hideous. Nobody should go through that. It was awful. Yeah.
And we should know how to behave in the countryside. You'd obviously hope people can just simply close a gate after them. Do you think this was perhaps deliberately left open?
Oh, I don't know. But, I mean, there are 3 basic... The countryside code is so important. Is shut the gates behind you, stay on the footpaths and keep your dogs under close control. And people aren't adhering to that, sadly. And the result is, we've lost a fabulous, healthy, happy horse. He should be with his mates here, enjoying the lovely weather, but he's not. He's dead.
And as a result, also, you've closed the path. This was you'd given public access to this land, but you've closed that now. You're saying no more.
Yeah, 100%. It's closed. It's been a permissive path for the village to use, and the river's beautiful, and we love everyone enjoying it. It's too pretty not to enjoy. But we've had a lot of problems. This isn't the first incident. We've had problems many times, and I'm afraid now, I'm not going to risk losing another horse.
OK, Beanie Sturgis, thank you very much. Well, a very sad story with these beautiful horses, just really to be admired, but someone's negligence, deliberate or not, has cost 1 horse its life.
Richard Payne reporting there. It really is sad. The rules of the countryside are simple. Just shut the gates. That's all.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Right, time for the sport now.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And I am delighted to say that Ross is here in his wonderful new shiny position. Plenty to get through because there was a lot of action this weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's always a lot of action. It's a Monday,
that's
isn't
true.
it? So there we go. We're going to start, though, with Bristol Rovers and the pre-match entertainment at the Mem. Involved fans learning their interim boss, Steve Evans, had signed a 2-year contract. The 63-year-old obviously joined last December, ending the Gas's 10-game losing streak in his first game in charge. This weekend, a 3-1 win over Crawley meant his winning streak stretched to 6 games. Ellis Harrison scored the opener, while Mies Reich scored his first goal for the club. Rovers, though, had Tom Lockyer sent off, but Yusuf Akamrich's sensational solo goal rounded off the win on a big day for his boss.
It's such a special club, and who makes it such a special club at this present time? Our owner, our board, Hussein and Ablatif, all of the board directors, Aziz, Khalid, they're all playing a part. I speak regularly to all of them, and they're all playing a big part. But it's just a special day when you become the manager here. The supporters are the real owners of this football club. I said it to our chairman in our talks in the last 2 weeks that the real owners. He's the custodian, but the real owners are the Gasheads, and I'm just proud to be a part of the family.
Part of the family, indeed. It's quite the contract, isn't it? And that picture pretty much says it all.
Yeah, a lot of smiling faces in the supporters' sort of base as well. I mean, this is probably the most important signature for Bristol Rovers. He had only signed a contract until the end of this season, but after securing their survival, he's saying that he is going to be staying until 2028. I tell you what, you would not bet against Steve Evans getting Bristol Rovers promoted next season. He has 9 on his resume already. This one with Rovers would be 10, which would be very exciting, wouldn't it? Wow. See what happens. Meanwhile, Bristol City's unbeaten run stretched to 3 games as they were held to a goalless draw at QPR. In a game of few chances, Scott Twine came closest to breaking the deadlock as Roy Hodgson remains undefeated in his return to the Robins. Elsewhere, Cheltenham, they'll be playing in League 2 again next season after securing safety with their biggest league win of the campaign. A dominant second-half display at Walsall included 3 goals in 13 minutes to secure a 4-0 win and Football League status. Not such good news for Swindon, though. Their automatic promotion hopes were dented after a 3-0 defeat at Colchester, which saw red cards for James Ball and, as you can see there, the manager Ian Holloway. In the rugby, though, Bath are through to the semi-finals of the Champions Cup after a pulsating and enthralling 43-41 win over Northampton at the Rec on Friday. Bath were behind for most of the game, but completed their comeback 5 minutes from time thanks to a Ted Hill try and the conversion by Finn Russell. Who else? Their reward is a semi-final at Bordeaux next month in the same city where the blue, black and white won the competition in 1998.
Oh, very thrilling.
Good omen, isn't it?
Last minute stress, though.
Right. Speaking of comebacks, Tyson Fury this weekend.
Yeah, very big.
We're not going to talk about him,
Oh, yeah.
No.
Pav,
yeah. Well, we featured him on the programme on Friday, didn't we? The Taunton-based boxer Pav Augustinic, who was going to be fighting at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the same night as, you say, Tyson Fury. Well, despite only being invited onto the card as a stand-in 2 weeks before, Pav was able to get the win over his German opponent, which now potentially puts him in line for an English title bout. A lot of celebrations there. Do you know what? He's actually won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium more times than Tottenham this year. So there you go.
Oh, good stat.
Well done, Pat.
And great eyes on him as well. The exposure's just brilliant for him, isn't it?
Massive for him, yeah.
And a burn on Tottenham. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ross. Well, the ITV news continues after us with the national and international stories at 6:30. With more, here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up in the programme, the Southport Public Inquiry finds the killer was an extreme danger and his attack on a children's dance class could and should have been prevented. America's blockade begins at the Strait of Hormuz after peace talks between the US and Iran ended without a deal. And Northern Ireland's Rory McIlroy makes history in Augusta as he retains his Masters title. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Yes, that's all to come. But first, Charlie is here. Charlie, you're going to be talking about the weather in a moment. But first of all, and your friends. But first of all, we're talking pollen, aren't we? Because so many of us are sneezing through our days.
You'd be surprised the number of people who said to me, has it started early this
But
season?
also people who've said, I've never had it before.
Yes, that's true. That is something that can happen, though. It's the kind of thing that you can grow into and grow out of. It's a very weird thing that can affect you. But it is nice to be out of the coldness of the winter and into something a little milder, right? But, of course, that does have issues with it. And with a warming atmosphere and a change of climate, it now looks like that pollen season is stretching further and further and further. Just take a look at this.
The bees are busy bustling between the spring blooms, and maybe your first sniffles of the season have already started. About a quarter of people in the UK get hay fever, but flowers like these, that rely on insects for pollination, are usually not to blame. It's the fine powder that's carried in the wind that has the biggest impact. These airborne types of pollen are broken up into different seasons. The tree pollen starts being released early in the year in February, before grass pollen, the cause of most hay fever, which kicks in around late June. After that, it's up to the weed pollen to take us into early autumn. But nature's calendar is shifting, and it can be easy and sometimes colourful to spot.
Well, here in the West Country, after what's been a really wet and mild winter, the blooms have been out for weeks in what's thought to be a bumper year for blossom and spring flowers. That's great to look at, but it may not be brilliant news for hay fever sufferers. And with a warming climate, it seems that the pollen season is extending. We're seeing pollen and its effects sooner and later than we might be used to.
The earlier starts to spring is something that's been noticed by the Royal Horticultural Society.
These birch tree catkins, they're the male flowers, and they've released great clouds of pollen when they're warm enough and the wind shakes them. This season's been a little early. It started very early in December, then we had a cold spell in January that set everything back, but since then it's been, on the whole, relatively mild. So we're a week or two ahead of where we normally are in terms of grass growing, hedges sprouting and flowers coming out.
Scientists monitoring nature in recent years, combined with wildlife records dating back centuries, show this early burst of pollen is not unique to this spring.
There's research that's been done into how different types of pollen are being impacted by climate change. The research has shown that for some types of pollen, for example oak and grass pollen, the season's actually becoming earlier, but also birch pollen season is becoming more severe. So hay fever sufferers could be seeing their symptoms appearing earlier in the year, and they could be seeing those symptoms for longer periods of time as well.
So if you've noticed your sneezing starting earlier this year, you're certainly not alone. Pollen season is well underway. The good news is that daily pollen forecasts can help allergy sufferers plan ahead. Whether that means keeping windows closed on high count days or making sure medication is ready when the levels start to rise.
It is lovely. But so here earlier, staying later, but are these heavy showers helping, dampening it?
They will do a bit, particularly if they occur in the morning or late in the evening, because that's when a lot of the plants are active. So during the day, they're just a bit of a nuisance. But there is something which is really geeky that I love about this time of year. It's the first time that we're starting to get temperatures which are perfect to see showers developing. Rather than being blown in on northwest winds or what have you, now we're seeing, just watch closely and you'll see they just start to blossom as soon as that temperature gets to the right level. It's different every day depending on the characteristics, but that is the reason why we've had so many heavy downpours today.
Today's forecast: blue skies, followed by a spread of hot and cold plates. TUI sponsors ITV West Country Weather.
So then, some slightly more changeable weather, or a continuation of the changeable weather as we work our way through the course of this week with some further outbreaks of rain. We've seen a few heavy downpours today, but we should also see things turning a little bit warmer as we work our way through part of this week as well. But we have got areas of low pressure close by. Close by being the optimal word. They're generally up towards the northwest of the UK, and we end up sort of seeing the tail end, if you like, of some of these fronts that work their way through. So we will see some outbreaks of rain. The isobars are quite tightly packed together, so there'll be some fairly brisk winds, but not a complete washout this week. Something a bit more typical for the time of year, really. As for the showers we've seen today, they're fading away as we head into this evening, leaving us with a good window of something pretty dry. But before the night is out, a bit of cloud will increase. We might even see some wet weather working in across parts of Somerset and Dorset as well. And temperatures will drop, just not as low as last night, probably down to low to mid single figures and generally frost-free. Now, there might be some very early brightness across parts of Gloucestershire, Wiltshire, but clouds are increasing really quickly, and we're going to see these outbreaks of rain working through as a front arrives. Now, some of those will be on the pretty moderate side. They do fragment a little bit later on, but it's not a sunny day. There'll be some brightness, but there's going to be an awful lot more cloud, bit of low cloud. Temperature's a bit higher, though, at 14 degrees, and a brisk wind. It might just feel a little more humid out there tomorrow. And then we see further wet weather coming through on Wednesday, followed by a few more showers and showers thereafter as we head through towards the start of the weekend. But Saturday at this stage looks like it should be OK, and we're looking at some slightly higher temperatures there as well. But I'll leave you with this glorious picture looking across Glastonbury Tor to that morning light and all those glorious colours that you get sometimes with those lovely low sun angles.
TUI sponsors ITV West Country Weather.
So, yeah, pretty geeky stuff, isn't it? And as I say, each day is different, but the atmosphere behaves at this time of year when the sun is strong enough that it just needs the right temperature, and all that lovely warm land and the air above it just eventually goes pop, and that's why we get those showers.
And all of that looks brilliant on the big news screen.
Doesn't it just?
It does.
It's difficult to know where to look, and I'm so used to turning around this way to look at you, and of course that's not going to work anymore. It is quite something, isn't it? And it's so crisp and clear, and I can move around and point at stuff and move back again. So
you can.
Yeah, absolutely loving it.
You're freed to do whatever you like. What do you think?
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you suited as well.
Thank you.
Beautifully. Thank you, Charlie.
He'd do anything. If you would like a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes tour, we've done one for you. Our news studio, our gallery, all of that is in our video on Facebook, also on X as well. Just go to ITV News West Country.
Wonderful. Well, that's it from the two of us. I'll have the late news for you at 10:50.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.